What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Hardworking Happy Hour. I'm Sean.
And I'm Catherine, and as always, we'll be breaking down all things trades, entrepreneurship, and turning your creativity into a passion career. Sean.
Hey.
Now I get to welcome you back from a trip this week. How was Las Vegas?
Las Vegas. Well, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, so I can't tell you.
We'll get into it a little bit, maybe.
Maybe a little bit, yeah. Deck Expo 2023, another trade show, another just good time.
Yeah.
Good time.
All right, before we talk about it too much,
Yeah.
let's actually say what we're going to get into this episode.
Okay.
Before we get into the episode,
That's a good
We kind of missed
way
that
to
mark.
prime it up.
We missed that mark last week, so I just want to make sure
We missed that mark. We missed a lot of marks a lot of times, and thank you all for bearing with us.
Yep.
You want me to talk about what we're going to
Well,
talk
you just were talking, so I was going to let you keep talking.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, this week we're gonna have a well put together episode, a well put together, well planned out episode about job breakdown. We just finished our most recent project. Had a lot of things going on throughout the whole course of it.
And you learn something new from every project anyway, so
You should.
you
should. I hope we did.
Yeah, we definitely did.
I think we did. I'm excited to hear what you learned. Because it's a secret.
Oh, a lot
We've
of
kept
things.
it a secret. But anyway, pretty big project, front and backyards, just a lot of stuff going on. A lot of stuff going on within the company, people leaving, new people getting hired, just a lot of stuff. So I always find it super beneficial to, kind of break down the job after it's done and just pick out what you can learn from it, how you can be more efficient, and apply that to the next project, because that's what it's all about, right?
Yeah,
just getting a little bit better.
A little bit better. 1% better every day. Is that the?
I guess with
the
that
saying,
attitude, I'm
whatever?
trying to get 100% better every day. So, yeah. So we're going to get into that. We're going to talk about Deck Expo a little bit, and, also just see where this takes us.
As we always do.
As we always do. You can never be sure. All right.
So what's up? How was Deck Expo?
Deck Expo was cool. It was in Las Vegas again, second year in a row there.
Why?
I don't know.
Do they do that intentionally?
I'm not sure, because I think somebody said it's going to be in Dallas again next year.
Yeah, and it was in Dallas 2 years ago.
It was in Dallas 2 years ago, and it's going to go back to Dallas. I don't know how that works, but somebody's making the schedule,
Yeah.
I guess.
I feel like because IBS is also going to be in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess this is Dump 6. They probably have a lot of trade shows. So it's just,
I think
it's probably more than just the two that I am aware of.
I'm not sure, but I would say
But I would like them
probably,
to not be in the same city. I wish they were not.
I agree.
But some people really like Las Vegas. So, who am I to complain?
Who are you to complain? I don't know which one's worse, Vegas or Dallas, because they're both pretty bad cities. I'm not a huge Vegas guy.
Now that you say it, you're right.
I'm just not a huge Vegas guy. There's just there's too much going on.
There's a lot.
There's
Yes,
just
a
too
lot.
much of all the same stuff.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, I want to go gamble. Which 600 casinos do I want to go to? Like, just have one. I think that's enough. So anyway, but I'm not big on gambling. But the Sphere.
Yeah.
My God, the Sphere.
Was it cool?
It was really cool.
Your video was pretty cool.
Thank you.
Is it? So now when you were in it, you
That
had
was
it
like
on
the
like,
lamest part of the whole thing too, which was crazy. But that was right in the beginning. And then I was like, I'm not going to. Everybody else was like filming the whole thing.
I was
Kinda
trying
weird.
to just get a sense of how big the screen is. Because is it like an IMAX screen where it's like mostly around you, or is it really a screen that goes like all the way around?
It's not 360, but it's pretty close. So like if you look up like completely vertical, the screen's above you. It's more like, plus you got like the seats. So like that area is not a screen.
Mm-hmm.
I would say overall, probably more than half of a Sphere is screen.
Okay.
So you can look like almost all the way to your left, all the way to your right. It's screen. All the way vertical above you is a screen. It's big.
Did that
It's
make
very
you like
big.
nauseous at all? I feel like it would be a little bit like, ooh.
A little bit, yeah. And I swear, I think it gave me some sort of like vertigo.
Really?
Yeah, like where I feel like
I can see that.
like the next day when I was in the airport, I was like, I'm not sure if I'm just like a little bit hungover or like I feel like I can feel the earth moving. And like I've been getting like little bits of that all week.
Oh no.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I kind of feel whenever I put on those like VR goggle things,
Yeah.
those things make me feel like a little strange. So I wonder if that's like the same kind of feeling where you're like, ooh.
Yeah. Speaking of VR, one thing I heard about is 1 in 3 people gets motion sickness. So I
just
could
in general or because of VR?
General.
Oh, okay.
And VR, I guess. I don't know. Do you get motion sickness?
I do on a plane if I can't see out the window, and in a car if I'm like looking at my phone too much. Then yes.
You might get
But not-
motion sickness in the Sphere. It is a little disorienting. There was times where I was just like, "Oh, I feel weird. feel a little weird."
Interesting.
But it was cool.
Did they give you that disclaimer? Is that why you know
No.
that statistic?
No one.
Oh.
Someone else told me that. Totally unrelated to the Sphere. But I did recently find that out. The outside of it might be cooler than the inside.
I love seeing all the people post pictures of like from their hotel room where it's just the smiley face and it's like looks like it's looking at you. I think that's really cool.
I think that's really cool. I think that's really cool. It was trippy though.
Yeah.
So it was just like, you watch this movie or whatever called Postcards from Earth. It was like kind of like a post-apocalyptic kind of, I don't know.
It was scary?
Not really. It was like basically we like destroyed the Earth and then like we were going into space. I don't know. I kind of forget the premise. It was more like a visual thing.
Okay, one more question.
Yes.
Could you see this when you landed in Las Vegas? Could you see the Sphere from the plane?
I didn't see it, no. But I didn't, like you could if you were on the right part of the plane, I guess.
Okay.
And I was in the middle seat.
Oh.
Somebody was supposed to have the window seat.
Yeah.
And I was scheduled to have the middle seat.
Yeah.
And there was no way for me to switch that.
Oh, you should have asked me. I could have done that for you.
You could have?
Yeah, I could have.
Oh, thanks.
Did you ask anybody?
No.
Oh, okay. Well,
I was just like holding out hope that like maybe
maybe you'd have both.
there wasn't going to be anybody on standby. There was both times. So I was in the middle seat.
Oh, bummer.
So I guess we should say you didn't go.
I did not go, no.
You were sick, right?
I was sick.
Yeah.
And my tummy hurt.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. I had a stomach virus, and I was going to, like, plow through it.
Yeah.
But that's a 5-hour flight, and it's really uncomfortable to have, like, a fresh stomach virus on a flight. Seems undoable. So
With that attitude.
I was, like, in my head, and I was, like, tired. I had just woken up, not feeling good. In my brain, I was like, I'll just get on a later flight that day. I didn't feel any better during the day, so then I couldn't.
Of course not. Yeah.
And then I missed all the like very important things that we had to do. All the important things that I had to do. You had a couple more engagements. Were on Monday, so I was gonna miss it anyway. So it was bad timing.
Not the best timing.
No.
Not the best timing, but
and I felt bad to leave you hanging because I know you don't like airport maneuvering by yourself.
I was totally fine. Yeah.
See?
I think I just defer to other people. I mean, it's not the first time I've been to an airport by myself, but
Oh, well, I helped you then.
whenever there's anyone else, I'll just defer to them to lead me around so I don't have to pay attention or look at signs. But the signs will point you in the right direction.
They almost always do, yeah.
So, but if it makes you feel any better, there was people vomiting on both flights. I feel like the last like 6 flights I've gone on, I've smelled like vomit.
Oh,
like,
no.
oh no, somebody vomited. Luckily,
that's
it wasn't like
horrible.
super close, so it kind of like wafted past and then it was kind of gone. But somebody was vomiting for sure.
That's horrendous, and I'm so glad that I was not that person. And everybody that I said, like, oh, I didn't come because I had a stomach virus, like, so many people messaged me and they were like saying, like, oh, why aren't you here? Whatever, which was very nice. But everyone that I said, like, I'm not there because I have a stomach virus, so many people were like, oh, I had it last week, or let's going around or whatever.
It's going around.
I feel like everyone always kind of says that a little bit, but for the people to be like, oh, I had a stomach virus last week, that's like something really might
Anytime
be
you
going
tell
on.
anyone that you're sick, they're like, it's going around. Everything's
It is like a
always going
default,
around. Yeah. Stuff just goes around. That's how germs work. Otherwise, they would go extinct, I guess. They have to stay
True.
inside of a host body.
Yeah.
So,
But I did hate to miss it, and I'm glad you had a good time.
yeah, it was great. It was great. Let's see. Recap of the event. Most notable things. We'll do a quick rundown. Obviously,
Okay.
we talked about the Sphere.
Sphere, number 1, yes.
Awesome. So I think we've talked about here how we have released our own line of mortarless stone veneer.
Yes.
With Adornstone, the Premier Series. And one of the big events was the unveiling of that and a live build of a fire pit kit that I also designed.
Yep.
Which was really cool. And the first night that we were there, went out to dinner with the Adornstone team and the two founders of the company Carbon Limit, who developed the technology that's going to be in the Premier Series that encapsulates carbon dioxide from the air and stores it forever permanently in the stone. Super, super interesting.
Yeah.
Insane, super cool people. I was like, they were literally just in like Dubai and Saudi Arabia or whatever, and talking about like these huge, you know how they're always doing these like crazy city builds and like insane futuristic stuff?
Yeah.
Well, they're building like a 170 kilometer long wall or something to build this like elevated city. I forget exactly what it is, but it's called The Line.
What is that in not kilometers?
It's really big. It's less. Say it's probably like over 100 miles.
That's huge.
It's insane. And their technology is going to be in this wall. So, and then like 2 weeks later, they're sitting next to me at dinner. Like you were just with Saudi princes and now you're sitting next to me. I don't know what that says about you, but it's not a great trajectory you're on. Anyway, so that was super, super interesting to meet them and just like hear about the science behind it. And I also wanted to talk about a couple fun facts about the technology.
Okay.
Because I got a couple people that said trees need carbon dioxide.
Yeah, we did
to
hear
breathe.
that. Yeah, we did hear that a lot. You're gonna
Another
kill
common
trees.
thing, why don't you just plant more trees? Well, I feel pretty confident. I'm not an expert in this, not at all. The people who are the scientists are an expert, and I'm not. But I believe we're probably emitting too much greenhouse gases. We have like 8 zillion cars on the planet. We have factories where we have power plants that are, polluting the air. I think it's safe to say it's probably causing some issues.
Yeah.
You don't need to be a scientist to know that, I feel like.
Yeah.
At least that's my stance. So I think this is valuable technology that we need to incorporate. The one big thing, why don't you just plant more trees? Well, trees will absorb carbon dioxide, but when they die, they will release it all back into the atmosphere. So it's not really like a net positive. It's kind of a net neutral situation.
Yeah.
And this technology will suck the carbon dioxide out of the air, encapsulate it, turns it into a calcium carbonate, and it has self-healing properties to the concrete, not to the person, to the concrete.
Okay.
So over time, as it encapsulates the carbon dioxide, it makes the concrete stronger and will repair tiny fractures within the concrete.
I am so glad that there are people smarter than me who like dedicate their life to figuring out that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah. And this is their second company, and they're like super young too. And this is their second company. The last one was called Smog Armor. It was a paint that purified the air in the room that it was in. It would suck pollutants out of like the interior of your house into the paint and encapsulate it. Super cool. And they sold that company and now started this. Carbon
That's very
Limit.
interesting.
Super interesting.
Are they environmentalists? Do they love the environment, or do they just are they filling a void?
I think that is their passion. They call it climate tech company. So super interesting. That was a big highlight. Hanging out at the decorators booth, a lot of new products there. Some happy hours, just kibitzing with all my people out there.
Oh my gosh.
Gotta love the kibitz.
Gotta love the kibitzing.
Gotta love the bits of kibitzing. Yeah, that was awesome. Saw a couple, cool things. One of the other highlights, this design company or something, they're real into this VR design, tracked me down and said, hey, do you have like 10 minutes? We really want to show you something. We prepared something for you. And it's just like, it's called Creative by Nature, this company, and just a bunch of young guys.
Yeah.
They're like, we prepared something for you. We really want to show you. Do you have 10 minutes? And I was like, sure, whatever. Set it up. Had no idea what to expect. They've rendered one of our projects that we did so realistic, like so spot on. Like
Yeah.
all the details were spot on with the house. You know how like the house had those stone pillars and
Yeah.
everything? Had those in there. It was like so good.
Yeah.
And they just did it just from pictures that we posted.
That was so confusing to me because I'm sure everyone knows I have access to the Premiere page. So I was seeing all these messages and stuff that you were getting tagged in.
Yeah.
And I could, like in the post, it wasn't saying that it was a rendering of our project, but I'm looking at it and I was like, that looks just like our project. Like,
Yeah.
that looks just like our project. What's happening? But that's so cool that they did that to like surprise you with it.
It was super cool. And it was actually somebody that one of the guys that did the rendering, we met him last year at HNA. I was like, you look super familiar. He's like, yeah, I met you at the dinner that we were at. Super cool. And it was super realistic. And I put him on and I was like, what the F? And I kept saying, what the F? Because I was just like so shocked by it. And it was so cool.
What is their company? What do they do? What?
I'm not totally sure. Design, I guess.
Okay.
But I'm not totally sure. I don't know.
Interesting.
I'm not sure if they're just designers or I think they might like do project management too. I'm not totally sure, but this was cool.
So they were just there. They this wasn't like at a booth.
Not at a booth, no.
Got
they
it.
set it up
Okay.
at the decorator's booth.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was super cool.
It's all coming together. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes more sense.
And so that was super cool. And the software that we use, Realtime,
Yeah.
when you hit like the project walkthrough thing to like, maneuver around on the screen, you can, if you have an Oculus VR headset, it's compatible. So you can just like hit Oculus VR, strap it on, and we could do that. So I think I'm going to get one.
Okay.
Because it was really cool.
Okay. For yourself or like we don't do like
In person?
yeah, we don't do in person.
Well, maybe we would start. But it was really cool.
Yeah, I love that.
So
very cool.
I'll update everyone on that. I think like to be in the space, it was just like you could see everything. You're like, oh, this is the perfect amount of room around a fire pit. Like, because I'm here. I
Yeah.
can sit here. Oh my God, this is great. It was wild.
That is really cool.
So,
Very cool.
Raced some go-karts. Decorators had an event. We raced go-karts. It was freaking awesome.
Did you win?
So much fun. No, I did not. I couldn't figure out the one turn.
Oh.
Yeah. And Kevin from Raven, he's like a psycho on those things. He was like so locked in and he kept winning.
Oh.
So good on him.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Good job, Kevin.
I think he's got more experience. So, but at the new house, I will be building an indoor go-kart track as well. So it's going to be pretty sick.
Perfect. So next year, you'll be ready.
Next year, I'll be ready.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And then I flew home.
How was that? More vomit.
I forget if there was vomit on that one, but I'm pretty sure, yeah. I remember smelling it, getting a waft of it. Yeah. So that was cool.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So Deck Expo 2023 and the books.
In the books.
The books.
Yeah. Before we get into the, do want to mention a movie that I watched on the way out there called The Beanie Bubble.
Okay.
It's about Beanie Babies.
Okay.
And pretty funny. Pretty interesting. It was like it was based on the story, but with embellishment, I'm sure.
What?
Of Beanie Babies.
Okay. This is like a documentary about like how we were all told that this was going to be like a wonderful investment at some point.
Yes. It was like, but it wasn't like a documentary. It was like based on the true story. And it was like a couple people in the company that helped like grow this kind of like bubble idea of like it being an investment and like the limited nature of it. But it was like a scripted movie.
Okay.
So I don't know what you call that. Dramatic documentary. I don't know.
I don't know.
But it was good. It was funny.
Yeah, that whole Beanie Baby thing.
Wow.
We really were all told that it was going to be this wonderful investment. I was even, when I was a kid and we had to go to Sunday school for church, we were bribed with Beanie Babies. If we went 5 times in a row, we got a Beanie Baby. Like that was from the Sunday school. That wasn't like my parents. That was from the Sunday school.
Really?
Yeah. And we were like,
that seems weird.
just making money here.
Yeah. Hopefully you sold them.
No, they rotted away in my parents' attic.
Are they still there?
I think some of them. Occasionally, like I would babysit and like I'd let the kids come over and pick one out. Or
Oh, wow.
like, my
How
nieces
nice of
and
you.
nephews kind of.
Just giving away
Picked
like
him over.
basically gold.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway,
Anyhow.
so and they still make those because I got one at the airport on the way back for Max.
They don't look the same as they used to, though,
No.
right? They have
Nope.
those like big eyes.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
But I remember saying, I was like, I just saw this movie. This one I'm gonna get. So I got a nice, cool llama.
Oh, adorable.
So, yeah,
Did he like it?
he loved it. He
Cute.
named it Dito.
Dito.
Yeah,
Adorable.
yeah. All right, so that is officially Deck Expo in the books.
Okay.
And so if you're thinking about going to trade shows, go. They're so much fun.
They're fun.
So much fun. All right, now we get into the job breakdown.
Post-game wrap up. Bow, 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 bow.
Work on the intro music a little bit. Not the greatest. Anyway, why don't you give your thoughts on it first? Because I'm tired of talking. I
Okay.
just talked for so long.
Yeah, you
Let's
did.
hear your thoughts.
All right. So this job, to give a little bit of a background on it, it was a front and a backyard, which we don't do front yards. We do backyards, but we did both of these. And this was, I can't remember if we talked about it or not, but when we were doing the design for this, Sean kept saying that the homeowner was his cousin for some reason. We had two outstanding designs. Sean loosely knew these people, so then he was like, "They're basically my cousins." So that was like the intro to this job. We don't do front yards, but she wanted a front yard, and I was like, "No, we don't do front yards." But Sean won that argument, and that was one of my takeaways of this job is, be a little bit more flexible, because I think the front yard was really good on this job.
I think
But anyway,
so, too.
so it was a front yard and a backyard, and we were doing a couple of things that we've never done before, like the concrete forms. We did these like concrete fingers off the side of a sunken patio, which is another thing. I don't know if you've done a sunken patio before I worked here, but since
No.
I've worked here, we've never done a sunken patio. So there were a couple little elements that were different. The access was not great. It was in a very tight neighborhood. So we didn't have a lot of room to park all of our stuff. So logistics were a little bit of a
Doozy.
doozy,
A little
I would
bit,
say.
yeah. A little tight.
It's always a pain in the butt when you can't like just have a dumpster there. I hate that.
Yeah.
So that was this job for sure. We had to be strategic. So it was a little bit. It was a smaller square footage job, I would say, but we packed a lot of different things into it. So
Yeah.
it was a lot of different moving parts. Definitely a lot of lessons learned. And I will start off with that as my number one lesson that I learned. I really didn't want to do the front yard. I thought that it was, we were committing to enough with the backyard, with doing all of these new things. I thought, we don't do front yards. It's not in our brand. Why would we do that? There were a couple of other things during that design phase where Sean was like, let's do this, let's do this, let's do that. So I might have just had my no hat on
Yeah.
in that moment. But in the end, I'm really glad that we did this. And I don't think that we should make a habit of doing front yards per se. But in this case, I think that it really like went well together. So that was one of my lessons that I learned.
Yeah.
Be a little bit more flexible.
Yeah.
A little bit. A little. There still needs to be a no person
Yeah.
in our dynamic, but a little bit more flexibility wouldn't kill me. And I'm really glad that we did.
I think you should try taking off the no hat a little bit more. I've never seen you without the no hat on. It might be a good look for you. I don't know.
Maybe. We'll see.
Maybe eventually we'll see you without the no hat on. But anyway, yeah. So takeaway, listen to me more. Correct?
No.
Okay. Yeah, it was, a little bit outside of our normal realm. And I always say we don't do the front yard unless it's kind of part of a whole project.
Yeah.
And I'm really, really glad we did it because I think that, not that the front yard is cooler, but I think the transformation in the front yard
Yeah.
was just really cool to see because, like, you drive by it. Like, it's right in the front of the house. And this is in development of homes that were probably built in, I'd say, like the 50s or maybe
Yeah.
60s. They're all ranchers that look pretty much the same, very similar style. So now there's one on the street that really sticks out.
Yeah.
And I think it's a little bit of a polarizing design because we threw some modern elements at a kind of more traditional facade house. But I think when it all came together, I think it looks really cool. I think it complements the house. I think it's like
Definitely.
just enough to like be like, wow, that house is so different, but looks really cool. I think it all came together beautifully. So
Yeah.
I'm glad that we did it.
Yeah, and there were so many times when we were like doing stuff on there and just sitting on that porch being like, wow, this is like, they didn't have a porch at all. It was just
Yeah.
steps. So now she's going to put like a, swinging chair or whatever. And
Yeah.
it feels like an outdoor living space, which is what we do. We build wonderful outdoor living spaces. And now
Yeah.
she has one in the front too. So
Yeah.
really great
And
job.
I think especially in that neighborhood, it was cool because it's a really tight knit kind of community vibe. The kids all, go to the corner of the bus stop. So
Yep.
all the parents and adults of the street are all kind of hanging out there. So I'm really glad. And she said from the beginning, like she was excited for the backyard, but she was more excited for the front yard,
Yeah.
which I thought was cool. And I think she's really happy with it. So next thing to talk about here, now that we have established that I need to be listened to more often, is the amount of people that we have on our job site.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't. You just want everyone to listen to you? I didn't say we didn't need more people.
What? No, two separate things. You need to listen to me more, which is
Okay.
that's the first
Oh,
point
that's
that we've
first
wrapped
takeaway.
up. Now we're
Got
going on
it.
to the next one.
Okay.
Next one is the amount of people that we need on a job site.
Yeah.
When we say how many people are on our team, a lot of people think that they're more efficient with less people. And obviously, we have one of those people, which is a full-time videographer. Me and you are kind of bouncing around to different things. So not everybody's on the tools the whole time, but
Yeah.
losing just one person, big impact.
Yeah.
Really slowed things up. And I have a couple takeaways from it. Because, when you talk to other people like at trade shows and, you're just talking to other people in the industry and they're talking about how they structure their business and what's the ideal crew size. We've kind of always been on the high end of how many people are on the site at the same time. So I always kind of thought, do we have too many people? Like, is there too many, like, would it be more efficient if we had less people? And we kind of got to see that a little bit for probably at least a month, maybe even 5 or 6 weeks. I don't know how long we were down a person, but
Yeah.
my number one takeaway there is on the big stuff where you're like kind of running and gunning, like framing, building the roof, all of that kind of stuff where it's like big, heavy lifting. It's awesome to have an extra set of hands. Like, I don't think you can have too many people during those aspects
Yeah.
because it's like hard labor. The stuff's heavy. Like, it just really helps morale when it starts to come together quickly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like kind of an army mentality. Like everyone just jump on it. Let's knock it out, and it gets taken care of. But then on the flip side, when you're getting towards the end of a job and you have like all the little details start to come together, that can get like a little bit demoralizing when you don't have as many people, because it's like one person's focusing on like one or two tiny little details for a whole day. The more people you can have kind of like spreading out, divide and conquer, just helps it feel like things are moving along so much better.
Yeah, definitely.
What do you think?
Yeah, I feel like it was. There were certain days where I'm like, oh, this isn't that bad. Like we're making this work. This is perfect. But then those days where it just makes everything like come to a screeching halt when you're just like waiting for things. There's like nothing worse than those days where it's like slow because you're waiting for things. And I feel like that definitely has happened, especially towards the end of this job. And it's just like, all right. It's better to have like too many people on the hard days than not enough people when you like need them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Not really. You said that in the most confusing way I've
Did I
ever
say it
heard
backwards?
anyone say anything before in my whole life.
Okay. That sounds just a little dramatic.
All right, so go ahead.
Anyway.
It's better to have more people on the days where you really need them than to like you'd rather have somebody like a little bit slow on a slow day so that they're there when it's really busy. Is that what you're saying?
I'd rather have more people like on the days where we're like running and gunning and framing and everything's heavy. I'd rather have like an extra person on that day than like when we get to those like more minutia detail things where you need people
Yeah.
I'd rather be well equipped on those days than worry about having like an extra person on the days where we're like
a little slow.
yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And when it comes down to that, like when there's not that much to do, that kind of comes down to us. Like maybe we could plan a little bit better so that things move a little bit more efficiently. So that was another thing that was a little bit tough on this job. We had HNA in the middle of it. We had Deck Expo in the middle of it. All of these different things that, you know, we kind of didn't plan to be shorthanded for when we booked the job and booked the events that we committed to. So I think we could have been a little bit better equipped for that.
Yeah.
Like it was a little bit of a scramble when it came to traveling and already being down a person, having a new hire come along. Just a lot of craziness there that I think had we known we were going to be shorthanded, we could have planned for a little bit better.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, it always comes back to planning. And there's definitely times where on this job, I felt like we dropped the ball with planning. Like when you went to Deck Expo, I was also supposed to be there. But when I was on the job site, there were so many little things that like just weren't communicated, or like I had to call you about like little details. And I'm like, I shouldn't have to be calling him for this. Like this should have already been figured out, communicated. We should have been able, and especially because we're like at the end of the job too. So it was like, it's not like we're doing these huge things. Like we're wrapping things up. These are like little details. We should have been able to like foresee that these would be issues and like get those together. So I just feel like as a whole, we need to just
be better
at planning.
Yeah. I think.
And communicating.
You think so?
I would like to. Yeah.
Well, yeah, probably.
It's
that
always
would be
a battle,
nice.
but it's like, you know, it's always something to work on. But
yeah. And with a job like this, with so many different facets to it, we tried a lot of like new products, a lot of different new methods. It's makes it a lot more difficult to streamline that whole process, because it's like things pop up that you didn't really like know that you need because you're trying something in a new application. So like it just, I think that's one of the things that makes it really difficult for us to get a lot better at planning. I mean, there's still a lot of room to grow there, but every job we want to try new stuff. Like we want to just see what other products are out there, or try new techniques or whatever. We don't want to just like fine tune the exact same style. And like, that's the way to get super efficient, is like you develop a style, you kind of have these signature details that like just go on every project, and you can like foresee every little detail that way. But it's kind of a trade-off. Like we want to try new stuff all the time. We want to try new techniques. We want to try new design elements. So those things will open up little unforeseen issues or details or things that like, you know, we could get a little bit better at planning around with some more foresight, but it's kind of impossible to anticipate every little detail when you're trying so many new things. Right? It's a trade-off.
Yeah.
Is it worth it?
Yes.
Is it worth it?
Yeah, obviously.
All right.
It would be so boring if we didn't try new things. So obviously it's worth it.
Yeah.
But I think that like we've gotten away from our like morning meetings, and I feel like a lot can be communicated during that kind of stuff, or like even the stuff at the end of this job was not the new stuff that we were like having to call you about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Whose
So,
fault
like-
is it? Point the finger.
No, I'm not. It's everybody's fault. We're all a team. I'm not pointing a finger.
I'm just saying. Are you pointing it at me? I'm not sure. I'm not sure whose fault it is. I'm asking you, whose fault was
It's
it?
as a team.
So it's your fault.
Yeah, partially.
Okay.
Yeah.
My fault a little bit too? It was all of our
It
faults.
was all
Okay,
of our faults.
fine.
It was all of our faults. What I'm
Fine.
saying. But
Jose's
yeah, like
fault?
a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
No, it's never Jose's fault.
Yeah.
This is
Okay.
best every day.
Yeah.
Anyway, so excuse me. I just feel like there's so much that needs to be communicated, and I think that we really need to nail down what details, like for example, the plant layout is the one that comes to my mind. That's
Yes.
I had to call you about that. With those, I went to go pick up the plant. You order the plants. I go to pick the plants up. I have a pile of plants when I get back, I'm looking at them. I can see where I would put them.
Yeah.
What I would do, but that's something that like you're a designer. That's part of your brain where you want to say where those plants go. You want to have that control. If you came back and you didn't like the way that I arranged those plants, you would rip them out and you would put them in the way that you liked them. So we should know that that's a detail that you care about.
Yes.
And you don't want to relinquish control of that design element.
Yes.
So we should have that in our minds and know that going forward, like, we're going to put plants in on that day. We need Sean to like give us the layout of where they're going to go.
Yeah.
Like that's something that I should have thought of. Like even when I went to go pick up the plants, I should have been like, okay, now I have this pile of plants. I can put them somewhere. I love plants. I'll put them somewhere.
Yeah.
It'll look nice, but it might not be where you put them,
You wouldn't have put them where they went there?
No.
No, well, how would you have done it? I feel like this isn't going to be for good radio because no one really knows where they are now or what the other possibilities
we
were.
can talk about that later.
Okay.
Just, most of it was the same. It was just like a couple different things.
You're wrong, but that's okay.
Exactly. So, and that's why I didn't just plant them. So
thank you for that. Appreciate that.
So I'm saying, but there's other things like we did a adorn wall, and then there's like a top detail.
Yeah.
I'm sure that you would care and you would have an opinion, but I feel like that would also be something that you'd be fine with letting Anthony decide, like, because it's like an element of, like, it's a design element in a sense, but it's also like
kind of like a detail.
Kind of like a detail that just has to get done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not like a focal point or like a...
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel like we need to like have clear communication of like what those details are that you like to have control of, what isn't, and plan around those accordingly when you go out of town, or just get better at communicating and planning. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I
feel like that was the takeaway from this job.
You communicated that very well.
And also, I wasn't even supposed to be there, so
yeah, we would have really been screwed.
Well, it would have been somebody else doing the going to get the plants and then also the communication about the plants. But
Right. Yeah, I think there's a lot of things that we could shift around with the planning and really like just making sure that changes. So the design for the front yard, like in the initial rendering, it was very close to the plant layout of like kind of how it was laid out, but there were some changes there. So I think we can just like, if there's going to be a change that's made on the job site, like, just very little things with the size of like the paver kind of setbacks. It shifted the shape of the bed a tiny bit.
Yeah.
That's something that I should update the design to make sure that when I say check the drive and you look at the rendering, like it's exactly how it is in real time. Like make sure that any changes that are made, whether it's just a site condition that was unforeseen that we had to shift something, or we're working around the parameters of a certain product, so it dictates the size and changes things a tiny bit. Those things can be better communicated through just the design that's on the drive. I think another thing that we could do is when it comes to the finer details, really having like dedicated detailed drawings that are uploaded to the drive as well. So like a column detail, for instance, showing, okay, it's going to be a 12-inch fascia board, and then we're going to wrap the corners with 3.5-inch boards, 5.5-inch trim at the bottom, 3.5 inches up top. Just having like a small detail of that where it's like, okay, what's the column detail? Let me check the drive. Boom. There's a document called column detail. I'll click on that, and it doesn't have to be super detailed, but it can just kind of lay out the crucial elements of the design and kind of communicate those finer details that you don't necessarily see on the rendering of the whole project. Those like really tight details of, all right, what size is this board? What, is this column 14 inches wide or is it 10 inches wide? Little things like that, I think could be a little bit better upfront in the planning phase, but also can be updated as the job progresses. There might be tiny decisions about some of those details that get made as the project's going, but I should try to be on top of that a little bit more. Like when it comes time to do the columns, like next week's we're going to be building columns. Let me figure that out. If it wasn't possible before, let me figure that out, upload that document so that everybody can see it. And we're just all on the same page, and it eliminates some, unnecessary kibitzing.
Yeah. Is there any software that like design, like right now we use real time?
Yeah.
Is there any that would be like detailed enough to add those kinds of things into like a rendering that then everybody else could have access to? I don't know the software game that much.
Yeah, I'm sure. So, and yeah, like there could be a detailed blueprint of a whole project, but it would be a series of smaller design drawings. So it would be like,
okay.
You might have a set of plans. Like for us, it's usually like 2 pages of plans. You got the joist layout, you got the roof framing, you have structural connection details, all that kind of stuff. If it was, say, an architect designer, like if I was just providing design service for somebody and it was like, I'm going to provide you with buildable plans.
Yeah.
What we currently do would not be sufficient. Like we would have to have, check page 9 of the plans. Like that's going to have our column detail. That's going to have the stone layout or the shelf detail on our TV wall. All of that stuff would have to be drawn out, which is possible through a software. I don't know if it's, a lot of stuff like that I like to just draw out by hand on graph paper. But there probably is some changes we could make there.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, I just didn't know that. I didn't know how like detailed the software gets because I don't look
This
at that
one
part. But
doesn't get detailed enough.
Yeah.
Not for that.
Just trying to think of some like actionable steps because we're learning these lessons. We need actionable steps to get better.
I thought we just talk about it and then we just forget about it all, and we go into the same
end of the next
cycle,
job.
and then we just say, "Well, we did pretty good, but there was a couple things that we could." I forget what it was. Maybe communication. I forget. We didn't communicate it well enough after the last job.
All right. Well, let's stop bitching about things. What are some things that went really well on this job?
Stop bitching and back to kibitzing.
Yeah.
Okay. Some things that went really well on this job.
Yeah.
Are we totally done with the bad stuff?
I think we've bitched enough. I don't know if there's anything major that you'd like to.
Can we say that on the radio? Can we say that?
We can say anything we want.
We can? Oh my God.
I'm not going to censor it.
Okay. Yeah, I think we pulled away the valuable things. A little bit more detailed plans on the finer details would be great. A little bit better communication is always good, and overall more fun. Because we had a lot of fun, but we can always have more.
Sure, yeah.
All right, things that went really well. We had a lot of fun. There's a lot of laughs to be had on this project.
Yeah.
I am... What?
I thought you couldn't think of anything else that went well.
No, I was just kind of gathering...
That was a long pause.
I was gathering my thoughts and my breath for the next step of this sentence. So let me be.
Keep going.
God, you really messed up my flow. I'm really proud of the way that we kind of persevered through being shorthanded. We came together. We figured it out. We also subbed out something on this job.
That's what I was going to say.
Oh, really? Well, you got to think of something else.
Okay.
I think it was, we like to have control over everything in-house, but that was something that I'm really glad that we did because not only were we shorthanded, so it sped things up, it was something that we would not have been able to execute that level of detail and precision on that Cedric did with the concrete work.
Yeah.
And it turned out super cool. It was a new element that we were able to incorporate that we didn't have to be 100% in charge of, and the finish came out awesome on it.
Yeah, it did.
The poured in place fire pit just looked so sweet. The walls that stepped down to the sunken fire pit turned out awesome, and those fingers that we keep calling them, they're just kind of like irregular concrete slab.
Yeah.
We just keep calling them concrete fingers. I don't know why, but they had that nice rosé swirl on it, swirl finish.
Yep.
Looked freaking awesome. and it gave me a newfound respect for the concrete game.
Yeah, for sure.
Concrete finishing is like, it's definitely, it's 50-50 art and science, baby. It's tough. It's tough, and you gotta know the crete.
Yeah, and I feel like I'm so glad that we did sub that out because we were coming hot off of a concrete failure.
Yeah,
and I think that we would have. I mean, obviously, we would have done it until it was right. So either way, it would have been fine, and maybe we would have learned some wonderful concrete lessons. But ultimately, it saved time, which we needed, and we didn't have that stress on our shoulders, which I don't think we could have handled any more stress.
No.
So I think that just the fact that it took the stress off of all of our plates really made like a huge difference just in morale. Like it was worth it just to do that.
Yeah, just that we didn't have to like just worry about, all right, concrete truck's coming, like we need to make sure we're ready to move this. It was like concrete truck came and went, and we didn't really have to do anything besides like film it and get in their way. Which was pretty cool. So I was really happy with the way that turned out. Yeah. A lot of the other like little details, I think I was really happy with the way the design came together because it was a bold design on somewhat of a traditional house. Mm-hmm. And not until it was like 90% done was I like, okay, I feel really good that this is going to all come together. Yeah. Like when it was in the framing stage and we had like that kind of pergola thing framed over the fire pit area and it was like half framed, it wasn't done. I was like, I don't know if this is good or really bad. Same thing with the first day that we framed the roof structure on the back. I was like, it was really high. Yeah. I was like, this looks insane. Yeah. This is not going to look good.
I remember thinking the same thing. I was like, this is big. It's really like big. Now that it's together, it feels like a
it looks
space
like it just fits.
And but when initially, it was just framing, it was like, oh, okay, this is like bigger than the house. It feels like,
and just like it just felt like I'm really big on proportions with the design. Like if proportions are off, it's just not going to be good, and there's nothing that you can do to fix it. And initially I was a little bit worried that it was like too tall and it just wasn't going to look how I anticipated it. Yeah. But it was still accurate to the rendering, and the rendering looked good, so I had some faith there. And I think one little change that I made was made the columns a couple inches bigger so that it kind of like, it didn't look like this high roof kind of sitting on top of toothpicks. So that was one.
Rounded the space.
Yeah, that was one change I made on the fly. Made the columns just a little bit bigger, and I think that definitely helped. And once it all came together, the TV wall was all veneered, and the ceiling detail was on there. It came together, and I didn't have that feeling that it was too high or too out of proportion. I felt like it really looked good on the space. Like it was obviously a modern addition to a somewhat traditional house, but I feel like I kind of like that sometimes, where it's like, you know, you either want it to be like the most natural extension of the house, or it's like, you know, throw something a little bit on its side and throw this like modern flair on the back of this, you know, traditional rancher. Yeah. I think it came together beautifully. Yeah. What do you think?
I also think it came together beautifully. I'm very happy with it. And it's a very comfortable space. And I think that's...
Yeah, I think they're going to enjoy it a lot.
Yeah. So. Ultimately, that's what matters. When people use it and enjoy it. And I think that's perfectly what we did. So I love it.
Awesome.
All right. Well, we are at... Did you have anything else to say?
Good job.
Thank you. You as well.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
We are at our bad sales story of the week.
Whoa!
It's time. All right. It's your turn. You got a story this week?
I got a story, and I think you're going to like this one. This one is from Brett Graham from Minneapolis.
Okay.
Minnesota. You like that?
I like that. That's
Minnesota. Good. Can you try?
That sounds like the most like Philadelphia accent.
Yeah, it's terrible. That was horrible. But
it's Minnesota.
Minnesota.
You gotta draw the old.
Oh, there you go. Minnesota.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. Yeah.
All right, we shouldn't make fun of people's accents, so why don't you just tell the story?
Okay, just tell the story. All right, so I think you're gonna like this one. It's an interesting circumstance. Gets a call about an interior renovation. Schedules the in-person consultation, whatever, for like a week later. The day comes, hops in the truck, goes to the job site. He's hanging around. No one's answering the door or anything. And somebody walks up and is like, "Hey, can I help you?" And they're like, "Yeah, I'm here to meet Mrs. So-and-so or whatever." And it was that lady's daughter, and their mother had died. And she was like, my mom has passed away. Like, we're here, like, cleaning out the house. The lady had died in that week. And he was
like in the meantime. I thought you meant like a ghost called.
No. Over the course of that week. So, like, the family was, like, there to, like, I don't think the body was still in the house, but, like, she had passed away. And, like, the daughter was, like, there, you know, as you do. I don't know, getting the house in order or whatever. And the lady had died.
Oh, that's so uncomfortable. That's so sad.
So sad and so uncomfortable. So, yeah, what do you say? Like,
so he didn't get that job, did he?
No, don't think so.
Oh.
But if you would have had a video consultation for that, the person just wouldn't have shown up to the video consultation. You would have never really known what would have happened, but you wouldn't have been there for that awkward situation. Be like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
But do you still want me to look at this thing?" So, yeah, don't have people die on you.
Yeah.
And you can avoid that with video walkthrough from Groundwork. If you want to try it out, use the code HardworkingHappyHour50 for 50% off your first 2 months.
Yeah.
Got any closing thoughts on that before we close the casket on that story?
No, that's very sad. And rest in peace to that woman.
Rest in peace. Rest in power.
Rest in power to that lady.
Yeah. You're going to have a... They didn't say what the renovation was, but I'm sure it got done up in the big renovation in the sky. So...
All right.
We'll see you on the other side. Anyway, all right.
Okay.
I guess that's it. Next week, we're going to have another fascinating and just exhilarating episode for you. So reach out to us. We worked through most of the ones that we had that came in. So we need some fresh stories.
Yeah.
So how do people do that again? I always forget.
Just DM us. I think that's the easiest way.
Okay.
Just DM us on Instagram or, on our Instagram or the Premiere Instagram.
Just DM us. Just DM us. We'll keep it simple.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I guess that's it for this week. Till next time, it's been the Hardworking Happy Hour.
See you next week.